Today's video. So something different here than the usual Russian vehicles getting rogered or visits from Mr. HIMARS to cover. I'm going to have a look at these images here. These are the latest data released by Orion Intel. They're tracking NATO and Sweden's ISR flights near Ukraine and areas of interest. ISR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance. I did a video on these last year, looking at ones around December time, but now I'm going to have a look at this year's ones. They were released online a couple of days ago, but the flights themselves took place between 20th of January to 20th of March 2023. So they're fairly recent, and as you can see on the images, there are many flights. Before we look closer, the map shows the different flights. Each aircraft type is colour-coded. Also on the map, we can see Russian and Belarusian air bases in the region, and the orange circles are Russia's defensive fortifications in Ukraine itself. What I'm going to do is look at each aircraft type and its reconnaissance flights individually, so we can see where NATO and Sweden's surveillance and intelligence flights have been occurring and what they cover. And I will also briefly look at each aircraft, who may be operating it, its role and capabilities. So first of all, we have the P-8 Poseidon. We can see the P-8 flights are highlighted in pink. Now it's impossible to tell how many flights exactly took place, as many of the lines do converge into each other. But we can see that the flights took place near Romania's east coast near the Black Sea, and in the north near Sweden, Denmark and Kaliningrad. The P-8 is operated by the US, the UK, Norway, New Zealand and Australia. Some of these flights at the top look like they're Norwegian ones, originating from Norway and from Swedish airspace. Others in the northern flights are coming from the UK, so likely British, Australian or New Zealand flights. Down south, these are likely American flights here from Italy, but others could be from the British bases on Cyprus. This is the P-8 here. It's a maritime patrol and reconnaissance aircraft which was introduced in 2013. It carries out anti-submarine, anti-shipping and ISR roles. The northern ones are monitoring marine activity around the Nordic nations and Kaliningrad. The ones near Romania monitoring marine activity in and around the Black Sea. The P-8's radar can track 256 targets at the same time, so it's a pretty useful aircraft. Next up we have the RC-135 or Rivet Joint. This is Britain's most used ISR aircraft in the Ukraine region. We can see the bulk of the flights are heading from the UK and patrolling a wide range of areas. From the borders of Kaliningrad, the Polish border with Belarus, and further south in the region of Romania, monitoring the Black Sea again. A few, you may notice, head out into the Black Sea itself. Now we can't be sure, as there are no dates for the flights given, but I wonder if these flights over the Black Sea were to do with the downing of the MQ-9 Reaper drone. You can also see some Rivet Joint flights flying from south. Only the US and the UK operate the RC-135. It's a large reconnaissance aircraft. The Rivet Joint is signals intelligence, the sensors on board allowing the crew to detect, identify and geolocate signals through the electromagnetic spectrum. The information is then sent to those who need it. The Rivet Joint is capable of conducting ELINT and COMINT interceptions against targets at a range of 240 kilometers. So switching to the map again, these are monitoring comms in western Belarus, Kaliningrad and the Black Sea, and also the southern Kherson region. The flights along Moldova will be monitoring comms traffic to the Russian forces in Transnistria. Next up, the RQ-4. This carries out the bulk of its operations in the Black Sea south of Crimea, and we also see flights in Romania too. These are United States aircraft. Here's the RQ-4, better known as the Global Hawk. It is a high-altitude surveillance drone jam-packed with high-tech equipment and sensors. It can survey as much as 40,000 square kilometers a day and is capable of conducting sorties lasting up to 30 hours. Its high altitude of up to 65,000 feet makes it ideal for surveillance over areas such as Crimea. Up next we have Sweden's contribution. This here shows the flights of the S-100. These aircraft, as you can see, are limited to operating off Sweden's coast. The S-100 is an airborne early warning and control aircraft. The peculiar radar on top you can see has lower drag but has a dead zone directly behind and in front of the aircraft, its major flaw. The radar is capable of tracking ships, planes and missiles at a range of 300 to 400 kilometers. These are operating for Sweden's own coastal defence, monitoring the skies and water near the Swedish coast for threats. Sweden also has a second aircraft carrying out reconnaissance flights. This one is called the S-102, and here's its images on screen now. As you can see with this map, these aircraft conduct flights not only off the Swedish coast, but also south of Kaliningrad and along the Belarusian border too. Sweden has two of these and they operate in an E-linked role, electronic intelligence. It's interesting to see, given the flights of these and Rivet Joints, that Belarus is not being ignored as a threat and Belarusian airspace is routinely monitored. Here's an interesting one, flights tracked to the Artemis. These cover a wide range of areas, Belarus, Kaliningrad, even some flights up near Latvia and northern areas of Russia. It's also active in northern Belarus too, so providing a wide range of coverage and providing a vital role to NATO surveillance. Artemis is a new airborne reconnaissance and target exploitation system operated by the US. Artemis is full of antennas and sensors in order to intercept and decipher enemy communications. Its exact capabilities are unknown as they are new aircraft, entering service in 2021, but it's said to have a very high detection range. Going back to the map, these look like they're launched from East European countries, as the flight trails don't lead south to Italy or west to the UK or Central Europe like others we see. So these are likely stationed in Poland or Romania and places like that and operate from there. It's also possible to turn off the transponders when flying to the destination, so the home base is kept secret. Here we have a familiar classic, the E-3 Sentry, a popular AWACS aircraft designed for monitoring enemy airspace. These conduct most of the flights along the Ukraine border as seen here, but we also see some around Romania, close to the Black Sea. They look to fly from Germany and Belgium, with some flying from the south, US bases in Italy most likely. A number are operated by NATO, based in Germany, Turkey, Greece, Italy and Norway. In addition, France and the US operate them, with the UK's E-3 fleet being retired pending replacement by the Wedgetail. The E-3's radar has a range of over 375 kilometers, so these will be monitoring Belarusian and Ukrainian airspace for missile threats. While from its flight zone and its patrol zone, it won't detect threats in the east, it will be able to track and monitor missiles approaching western Ukraine, targeting places such as Lviv, as well as monitoring air activity in western Belarus. In the Black Sea, these will be tracking caliber launchers and threats towards Odessa. Even if a warning which you give is a bit too late before the missile impact, these are important for detecting the missile's trajectories and relaying to Ukraine possible launch points. These flights here show the flights of the E-8C. These flying from Central Europe and covering West Belarus and South Kaliningrad. There is also one, maybe two flights in Romania, monitoring airspace of the western part of the Black Sea and Transnistria. These ones flying from Central Europe. There look to be fewer E-8C flights than other aircraft. The E-8C is an aircraft designed for airborne ground surveillance, battlefield management, and command and control. It's designed to track ground vehicles, collect imagery, and relay tactical imagery to theatre commanders. I expect that's why its use is a bit more limited. With all the action taking place in East Ukraine, it can't monitor many Russian movements. But it is able to monitor movements and training exercises in Belarus. I wonder why a flight was made to cover Transnistria, if there were some movements there which needed to be monitored. It's unknown how many Russian troops are there, believed to be around 1,000 to 1,500. Containing elements of the 113th Peacekeeping Motor Rifle Brigade and a helicopter detachment. And the word peacekeeping needs some sarcastic quotation marks around it. This image has the tracked flights of the EP-3E. Not many, but it's hard to say for sure given they all mix up together in the same route. But remember, these would be incoming and outgoing flights, all heading towards Italy and southern places in that region. The EP-E3 all take place around Romania, except one which went up along Moldova and back. Here's the EP3, a signals reconnaissance variant of the P3 Orion. It provides theatre commanders with signals intelligence and video intelligence. These are operated by the US Navy. Here we can see flights of a G550. These are focused in flights around Romania, so monitoring the Black Sea and also the border with Belarus. These fly from Central Europe and some from the south. These are likely Italian. Italy operates these for early airborne warning. We also have a pair equipped for airborne intelligence, surveillance, recon, and electronic warfare. Italian ones have been confirmed to be carrying out operations as of March 2022, but the US operates an intelligence variant as well. Now, I did a similar video on this before, looking at flights from 11th of November to 20th of December. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the flights overall, with last year's November to December at the top. First of all, you can see there are fewer different airframes carrying out flights now. Of the ones which were tracked, we can't see flights of the ATR-72 or the RC-12X anymore. There's also an increase of flights around eastern Belarus and the Black Sea, though not a substantial increase. But those areas are slightly more congested than they were. Notably, flights north of Kaliningrad have now been assigned to Artemis, whereas last year it was the RC-12X carrying out patrols there. But overall, the number of flights has stayed high and has increased slightly, with different airframes and some aircraft carrying out more flights than they once did. For example, there are more P-8 flights in the north around Kaliningrad and the coast there than there were before. Before we look at the next bit, I'm going to take a quick look at the aircraft not flying recon flights now, or at least aircraft which weren't tracked flying recon flights. First, the ATR-72MP. This is designed for search and rescue, maritime patrol, command and control, communications, intelligence, surveillance, and recon. So a pretty versatile airframe. These are operated by Italy, and Italy operates 4 of these. The other one we didn't see flights of is this, the United States' RC-12X Guardrail. It's an airborne signals intelligence aircraft from the 80s. The X variant is a modern one, with expanded frequency ranges plus other improvements. Now let's go back to the final part of this video. Zoom into the recent map. While Belarus and the Black Sea are well covered, there are some major gaps in NATO's coverage. While the Global Hawk is monitoring Crimea and likely has the capabilities to provide some coverage of southern Ukraine, there's no coverage of activities in eastern Ukraine by NATO along the eastern front or in Russia itself. Certainly not tracked ones anyway. Crimea too is limited to flights by the Global Hawk, though we know Reapers are patrolling that area too, given recent incidents, though they aren't tracked here. The presence of Reapers which have been confirmed prove that this map isn't covering every flight or every type of aircraft in use, so there are likely many more drones and surveillance aircraft flying which we don't know about. But these intelligence flights are no doubt providing valuable intelligence aid to Ukraine. However, while the US certainly has other aircraft, unmanned aircraft flying near Crimea, I do find it unlikely that unmanned aircraft from NATO flew surveillance flights near the front lines itself, meaning the major gap in coverage is in Russia and the Eastern Front. But despite these gaps, these flights have certainly proved useful. It's long been said that NATO flights provided information which led to the sinking of a Moskva, for example. And also, Ukraine will certainly have its own capabilities for monitoring Russian airspace and Ukrainian airspace, as well as providing signals intelligence and that sort of thing. So these gaps are likely covered by Ukraine's own capabilities, so they're certainly not blind spots. Now the images I use in this video I have put on my Patreon page, so if you want to check them out, they are on there. No need to sign up to see them, as well as the other videos which I put on Patreon. Everything on there is for free. But I thought some interesting flights have been tracked in these videos, which will certainly be very useful, especially ones tracking missile launchers, showing Ukraine and giving intelligence to Ukraine where exactly these are being launched from. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. If so, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thanks again, and take care everybody.